It is time to keep the rubber side down with the new Voodoo KLR V2s. So instead of a curse, these Voodoos are a blessing. I've always liked the way that Voodoos performed on the rocks in Missouri. The powdery limestone, they do really well, and these V2s are obviously sticky. You can hear that. They do have some changes. I haven't run these yet. I need to get some foams for them, throw them on some wheels, but let's look at them on the bench for today. So these are the original KLRs. As you can see, they're just slightly taller, ever so slightly taller, but they're also narrower, and that's gonna work on a lot of scale rigs. As you can see on this capper axle, it's rubbing. It is rubbing on these tires, and if I keep running, it's gonna wear right through it. And yeah, sure, I could use a slightly wider hub on these to get them away, but I don't want my track width any wider, so I was kind of stuck with this. So this will actually help. I may throw them on this rig. It'll be yeah, I may just do that. Like I said, they're a little bit taller, just a hair. Yeah, just barely taller. They're a little bit narrower. And as you can see, the tread pattern is basically the same, but they changed our siping a little bit. It's got a little bit more siping, a little bit different shape on there as well. So as these had essentially grooves cut into them, siping in the middle and then grooves on the outer lugs, these have like a full sipe that goes across the outside and then even more siping on here. So these should grip pretty much right out of the box. If you want to get the mold release compound off of them, you would essentially use some simple green. That's a really good one. Although it seems, with the way that these are as sticky as they are, I'm not sure if I would really need to do that. It's fun to play with. All right, so let's compare them real quick to the Hyrax. As you can see, they are slightly narrower and they're pretty much the same size. Once you poke a foam in them, they may, yeah, these Hyrax are slightly taller right now, but they've got really tall foams in them as well. So these will bulk up to pretty much the same size, but the width is, yeah, it's narrower by about a half a tread width or so. And you know, the Hyrax work pretty good out here too. I'll say on the powdery limestone, but they also wear in extremely quickly because of the way that they did the tread pattern. It's essentially ultra siped right out of the box, and really you're not going to be able to see the detail on camera, but it's like little feather treads on all of these, and that wears off extremely quickly on these, especially with any wheel speed. So yeah, the other thing I'd like to talk about these is the interior. So if you've never seen the interior of a tire, most of the time it's pretty basic. Maybe, do I have any other tires laying around that are not mounted? Probably not. So a few brands may have ribs on the inside, but for the majority of tires, it's just smooth. There's really nothing in there. And Voodoo has both ribs on the inside and what they call the dead band on the side. So here's our ribs. This gives you a little bit more support in this direction without having like funky folding and stuff like that. So it's support for the treads themselves, but then we have this dead band on the side. And this isn't quite as pronounced as the original KLRs, if I remember correctly. But what this does is actually gives a certain amount of compression to the carcass, as you can see. So you get a support of your tread, you get a flex of your sidewall, but it's not too extreme. And what I found over the years is that it is actually a lot easier for me to tune these tires. However, that might also be that there's just simply a tighter tuning window. It's easier for me to tune these because they are themselves slightly tuned in how they work. So what you may find if you're a person that really loves to tune your foams is that you may not get as drastic of a change when you're changing your foams out with these as you would with something that does not have that inner sidewall support. But for the weight of rigs that I like to build and the type of traction that we have around here in Missouri, these have always worked great. So I'm going to mount these up. I'll probably switch them over to this rig just because of that rubbing issue. And yeah, we'll go from there. So if you have any experience with these Voodoos yourself, what kind of terrain you like to crawl on, you know, do they hook up well for you, what kind of foams they use, stuff like that. Just general setup tips, the weight of your rig as well, that's always important. Post them down below. I want to hear it. How do they work in your area, and how do you have them set up? Because that'll help me a little bit, and that'll help everybody else too. So if you do have any questions, post them down below as well. As always, thanks for tuning in. Have a great day.